the key to this is execution on the deliverables. And I think we all know we could, as a group, somehow improve on that, because it's a lot of work. And I think at some point we should all sit down as a group again and really look at the deliverable part.
We're going to talk about that today. And I'll tell you that I was guilty of being lazy and getting really good at discovery meetings and not really emphasizing the full wealth management process. If I could close them with the discovery meeting, I'd close them, and the deliverables kind of fell by the wayside.
Guilty.
But you're selling yourself short, because they're not going to get a really robust experience that makes them refer. People only refer if they're like, wow, that was incredible. I mean, think about you. If you go to a restaurant and it's pretty good, you don't go raving to your friends. But if you go to a restaurant and it really blew your mind, you're going to yap your mouth for 2 weeks. So what we're trying to do is create, and clients are never happier than they are when they first start working with you. It's pretty much downhill until then. So, and it's really in that period where they're going to introduce you to their network, because they're going to be all excited. So that's why it's important to execute on all this whole process. And even if they don't fully follow through, if you offer it to them and you're pretty insistent, you're going to get a lot of bang for the buck. So this is an open discussion. I do want to talk about the deliverables. I want to talk about the nuances of this meeting, but I think we just kind of launch into it. You're not really supposed to talk much about yourself at the beginning of this meeting. You're supposed to introduce yourself. They should have an idea of what's going to be involved before they even show up. You can tell them on the phone. You don't need to bring anything. It's an hour and a half long. We're just going to have a conversation and explore whether, what you have going on is something we can help you with.
One piece of energy, as far as letting them know what's going to go on, there are scripted letters or emails.
There are.
Yeah. So I mean that's a good thing.
Yeah. There is a whole set. There are a whole set of letters, emails. It's nice. I like to send out a letter with a map, not because you can't figure it out these days, but because of the thought. It's just like a really nice thing for them to get. So if you have the time, then it's a good idea to do that. You can decide whether that's important. So I'll say, you're going to have an opportunity to ask me some questions at the end of this, and I'll tell you a little bit about myself. And we'll talk about the process after we do the discovery meeting. But you just jump right in, because they're nervous, right? And what's easy for people to talk about? Themselves. It's their favorite topic. So what you're going to do is you're going to take an hour and a half and you're going to melt all their stress and frustration. You're going to allow them to tell you all about themselves. And at the end of that process, you're going to have a bond with them. And the only thing that's missing, I'll tell you what changed in this since I started in 06 and when I went back in 10, is that there's a concept of reciprocity in establishing relationships. So it's odd if somebody divulges to you and you don't divulge back. That's a weird thing in human relationships. So you need to have a little piece where you just give them 1 minute about yourself and tell them why you're in the business and why this is your mission in life. And then you'll have a better takeaway in that process. All right, so I'm just going to interview you like we just met.
I will role play.
You can role play. You can give me any answers you want. They don't have to be true. But I'm going to write everything down. So the way I do, if you look at you've all seen the TCP: values, goals, relationships, assets, current advisors, process, and hobbies and interests. So what I do is I take each section and I draw a bubble like this on a piece of paper. Yeah.
That's what I use. That has them all the way around. And I have this out in front of me.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I know I'm not organized enough to have one of those. So I just take a bubble.
Could you email that to me?
Of course.
I think that's great.
Well, he's too lazy.
No. So all I do is write values there, because I can do these anywhere, anytime, with any piece of paper. The nice thing for a lazy advisor like me is I don't have to be any more prepared than they do. When I first started doing this, and it was like, bring all your documents, and I got to be prepared, and you got to be prepared. Those are all impediments to getting together and talking. It's just a conversation. This is designed for you to be able to capture a lot of important information with no prep.
Should I throw in some natural attempts by the prospect to derail or get us off subject and
Yes, that's the art of this.
Okay.
So what Bo
So
and
I was thinking about right off the bat.
oh, it's very hard.
The hardest.
Oh yeah, you can try to do that with me.
Okay.
For sure. And I've learned to shape my questions so that it's hard for them to get off. And they will ramble, and you can say, you know what, that question's coming up in a minute, or that actually we addressed that in meeting 2, whatever. But you got to keep them on it, and that's one of the talents of this. One thing Bowen has you do is rediscovery meetings with your existing clients, because you get really good at the meeting. And of course, you freshen up those relationships with those clients, and you learn things about your clients you didn't even know. So I would recommend you do that, but especially some of your top clients. And say, you know, we've implemented a little bit different process now, and it's something I'd like to go through with you if you give me an hour of your time. Most of this stuff I already know about you, but the truth is you will have forgotten a lot of this stuff about them. And you're going to learn about outside assets and problems in their lives, even though you've known them for 10 years. So that's another place to practice. First I did it on Anthony in our office out there, and then I did it on family, and then I started doing clients, and then I started doing prospects. But I got really good at this. All right, so Morgan, the first question is about values, because that really drives this entire process. So if I were to ask you the question, money gives me blank, you only get a one-word answer, what would your answer be? And if you have a couple, I say, Susie, your answer may not be the same as Jim here, so I'd like to know if your answer differs, because a lot of times, especially early, the guy would dominate the meeting. So you want to say, Susie, I want your answer too. So what is that one word? What does money mean to you?
Well, what I want to do with my money, my goals are to help my kids out and my family.
So can we get that down to one word?
I guess it's kind of a pain in the ass. It's
Money's a pain.
yeah, I've got so much going on, and
So, well, let's step back. So you've worked 25 years in your career. You busted your tail. You piled up quite a bit of money here. So did you do all that because it's a pain in the ass? Why'd you do it? You worked really hard.
yeah, I just kept working and didn't look up. So I guess I need to think about that.
Well, that's what I'd like to explore.
Okay.
So you got the pile of money. You killed yourself getting it. What's it for?
I think that's one thing I probably need to really sit down and explore. I haven't had the time.
Well,
So I think really it's for, at some point, I don't want to have to keep working so hard and enjoy my time with my family.
so let's think about how we could sum that up in one word. What would you have if you didn't have to work and you could enjoy time with your family? What would that give you?
That would give me happiness.
So what money means to you is happiness, joy. Any other words? You can have more than one. They have to be one word.
Anxiety.
But that's not why you work so hard to accumulate the money.
Okay. It makes me a little anxious though. So
To have the money or to not have the money? What would be worse?
kind of both.
I understand. Having money does come with certain responsibilities.
Yes.
But in my experience, not having money is worse. So you have some fears associated with money that you've addressed by working hard and saving and investing.
Yeah.
And so when you don't have those fears, you have something positive.
Right. So I want to have, what's important to me is happiness and security for my family.
Security is a good word. What about, you mentioned not having to work. So what's one way we could sum that up? It gives you something.
Flexibility and freedom. Maybe freedom.
Now you're getting the words.
Very good. If anything else comes up in the meeting that you think we missed here, let me know and I'll go back and put it in. But those are, and I usually share with them and say, in Los Angeles, one thing money gives people is status. In Texas, I don't tend to get that as much. So it's not surprising, since we're in Texas, that these are your values. But the important thing in this section is I'm not giving him the words. I'm going to make him drill down to get it. And it's hard for people. Unless they're really contemplative, deep things. Like shrinks will come out and they'll go, security, freedom, independence. They'll just lay it out. But most people don't live there. They don't really ever sit around and think about that kind of thing.
You get the answers that he gave you.
Yeah, you want to make them say the words. How else, make them drill down. And the people that don't do this naturally are uncomfortable, but it's a great process for them. Okay, so let's talk about your goals. What would you like to accomplish with your money? I mean, you've built up a lot of it. You've done a lot in your life. But as we look forward, what are the things that are important to you?
Well, my wife and I have been so busy with the kids for so long, and they're about ready to go to college. So, I want to look at some point enjoying life a little more.
Well, you mentioned college, so let's bite that off.
Okay.
Would you like to pay for your kids' college?
Yeah, I think I've got some. I've got a 529 plan away for my kids. I'm not sure if it's enough, but
Well, let me just say that 529 plans are a tactic.
Mhm.
A goal is sending them to college. So in this section, we want to focus on the goals.
Okay.
And then we're experts in the tactics. We can help you with that. So how many kids do you have?
I've got two.
2 kids. And would you be interested in paying for them to go to Texas State or Harvard or somewhere in between?
Somewhere in between.
Okay. So UT.
I want to share responsibility with myself and my kids.
So you want to say pay for 50%
Yeah.
of a University of Texas type of cost?
Yeah.
What about graduate school?
That's it.
Okay, so your kids are going off to school, and you and your wife are poking your head up, looking around, thinking, we're empty nesters. What are we going to do now? What does that look like to the two of you?
I want to button up the house and be able to travel. And maybe 3-4 months out of the year be exploring.
Okay, so you've sold the business, is that right, at this point?
Well,
Or
right now,
are you partially involved there?
Yeah, it looks like we're gonna, in about a year or two, we'll have a liquidity event.
Okay.
And I'm gonna kind of back off from
So a goal,
operational.
actually a future goal will be to sell the business in 2 years.
Yeah. And we're already engaged with some folks on that.
So you're in discussions with some buyers. Okay. So what does it look like? You sell the business for your ideal price in 2 years. What are you and your wife doing?
Well,
4 months of travel a year?
see, I don't really know how much I need.
We'll be able to tell you that easily. And I have no doubt, based on what you've shared with me about the success of your company, that you're going to be in good shape, whether it's really good shape or pretty good shape. So
How do you do that?
how do we do what?
Figure out how much I need.
Statistics.
Okay.
It's really easy. It's very routine, since we have lots of clients in a similar situation. What I want to focus on is, what do you want to happen? And it's our job to marshal the resources to make it happen for you.
Okay.
To help you make the right decisions about spending and saving and investing.
Okay.
That'll be pretty easy.
So I'd like to be a little more hands off with all the. I think I give myself I put a lot of time and effort, and it creates a lot of stress into taking care of my financial, paying the bills and all that good stuff. I'd like to be able to wean myself of some of that stuff.
Would you want to outsource some of the financial
Yeah,
management?
I think so.
Some of our clients
Do you guys
hire-
pay bills?
We don't, but we do have some partners, some professional relationships where some of our clients use some CPA firms to help them do that kind of thing, and we coordinate.
Okay.
So we're glad to make those introductions. Here's what's happening with your life. Up till now, you've run a business, and your wealth has been tied up in that business. So your CPA and your CFO has been the most important thing to you in the world. You're going to sell it, and your money's going to end up in liquid accounts and trusts. And so you're going to need a little bit different approach and a different group of professionals to help you manage it now. So we're going to help you make that transition and get the right people in place so that it's as effortless as possible. Okay? All right, so we're going to really retire in 2 years. We're going to do more traveling. Let's talk about what kind of income you need. So 2 years from now, when you're partially paying for college for the 2 kids, let's exclude that. How much do you and your wife need to live the lifestyle you want to live and do the traveling?
God, I don't know. I don't really have a budget right now, so I don't really know. Do you guys do budgeting?
We can certainly help you with that, but let's just do a thumbnail sketch.
Okay.
Your house is paid off, so I figure your property taxes are about $20,000 a year. You probably, if you're like most people, you spend $1,500 to $2,000 a month on food, whether it's restaurants or bills and so forth. So there we're up at $40,000. Clothing, what do you think? Are you clothes horses or are you pretty frugal?
No, we're pretty frugal.
All right, so maybe $5,000 a year for clothes, maybe $10,000. And when you think about this, don't think necessarily about how you have been living, but think about the possibilities. Because as I understand it, your company is worth quite a bit of money. Probably you can live differently than you do now. Now you may not want to. Many of our clients aren't comfortable living any differently, but
Okay, so I think we're probably living on about, before taxes, $200,000 a year, and you know, I don't see that dropping. I think if anything, with all the travel, I'd like to have a little more money.
so maybe $15 a month after tax?
Right now,
No, in the future.
in the future, God, it just depends on. You know, it's like the chicken or the egg. I guess I gotta budget out the traveling. Ideally, you know, I'd like to.
Well, this is about possibilities.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you can do this or not.
Yeah.
I want to know what you want to do.
So I want to travel, and so right now, we're gross for about $200,000 a year. I get a feeling with the traveling, maybe I don't know, ballpark. Maybe it's $50,000 a year for traveling. I'd like to do.
On top of the after-tax 200, you probably get 150,
Yeah.
130. So add another 50 onto that
Yeah.
after tax.
Yeah.
It's about 15 a month.
Yeah, and maybe I could go out to Bali and build a home for a little, home base.
So that's another goal. Home in Bali. How much is a home in Bali?
Pretty cheap if you get the right hand.
100,000? 500,000?
Yeah, let's call it. So for what I want to get, maybe let's call it 200,000.
So we'll have 15 a month after tax with an inflation adjustment starting in 2 years and a home in Bali. Otherwise, you're going to keep your home here and you're going to pay for college.
Mm-hmm.
Any other goals?
Yeah, I wanna really start writing. Write some books.
Is that going to require an investment or just time?
Just time.
What about when you die? Have you thought about what you'd like to happen with all that you've built up?
Yeah, my father passed away a couple of years ago, and it was really fucked up. My people in the family were fighting, and I don't want that to happen. So,
Well, avoiding conflict is one thing, but tell me, you've got 2 kids.
yeah.
Would you want it all to go to your kids, or would you want charity to get some?
I want some charity.
Okay.
Probably at least 30% of my estate to go to charity.
What about, let's say either you or your wife were to predecease each other. Would you want to have some protections in the estate plan so that It would protect your remaining spouse from unscrupulous people, from creditors,
For
etc.
sure, yeah.
And,
I don't,
you
I
know,
don't
there's
want,
the infamous pool boy relationship. You
Yeah.
know, if you go first, and the guys usually do go first, you know, somebody coming in when mom gets older and taking advantage. Would you want to put some protections in place?
definitely.
But what about asset protection? You know, you're in a pretty rough and tumble industry. You know, being in the ammunition business, international arms dealer. You know, are you concerned about your assets in the future? Are you concerned that somebody could get a hold of them, either through fraud or legal means? And is that a concern?
Yeah, it is, and I've set up a couple limited liability companies to help protect on that. And we've got a family trust, so God, I must be okay. And, you know, I got my brother as a trustee, so, you know, I think we're squared away there.
Okay, we'll talk about the way that looks. What I'm after here is whether it's a concern. For some people, they're not arms dealers, so they really, with insurance, can provide most of the protection they need. But in your case, I thought maybe that's something you might want to go to some more extraordinary measures.
Yeah, it does concern me, so that is a good one.
All right. If you think of any other goals, let me know.
Okay.
But protect the family, get the money into the hands of the kids, pay for college, $15,000 a month in 2 years, and sell the business, buy the home in Bali. So if all that happened, you really feel like you're making some progress.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I can just have a path to there, I'm just not, I know what I want, but I'm just not sure how to get there.
Right. That's what we're experts at. All right. So the next section is relationships. So let's start with your kids, names and ages.
Fred
How old's Fred?
is 18. He's going to be finishing up high school this year and heading to
Does he know where he's going to college?
UT.
Does he know what he wants to study?
Yeah, he's going to be a rocket scientist.
And this, you know, if now we're into the really juicy part of the meeting, because in some people, well, you tap into the kids. That's what they love the most. And if they want to run on about little Fred, and many times they'll say, yeah, Fred was valedictorian, and Fred has a girlfriend, her name's Susie. Write it all down. Because when they come back and they see that TCP and Fred's girlfriend's name is on it, what they think is, wow, he was really listening. Those are amazing. Because now, I mean, for most people, there's not much that's more important than their kids. And you have a daughter as well?
Yeah.
What's
Alice.
her name? Alice?
And she's a bit of a wild child. I don't know what she's going to do, but she's an artiste.
Hmm. How old's Alice?
She's 16.
Now, see, I believe Fred's going to be a rocket scientist and Alice is an artist. So, would you expect them to both be able to manage money the same? Or
No, I feel more comfortable giving Fred responsibility. Alice, you know, she's a problem child. But we love her.
of course. Well, there are ways within the estate planning process to put in place mechanisms to protect Alice and to empower Fred. But we do want to be careful about something. You wouldn't want to put Fred in charge of Alice's money because that can create resentment. And the last thing you want your money to do after you're gone is to cause a fight in your family. So one of the things we want to do in the estate planning process is make sure that the outcome of all the money that you create, all the wealth that you've created, is happy family members who love each other.
Well, I think I've already got an estate. Is that going to cost me more money? I mean, how do you?
It might, yeah. But I think it'll be well worth it to you, especially given the recent success of your business. Okay, who else? So is there anyone else you and your wife are financially responsible for? Are your brothers and sisters okay? Are your parents okay?
Yeah, you know, my mom's got a disability, and I gotta keep an eye on her and help her out.
Do you help her now?
I help her a little bit with some money, yeah.
Okay. How's her health?
She's hanging in there.
Yeah. Okay. So if something were to happen to you, would you want your trustees to take care of mom through the rest of her life?
God, I don't know. I have to think about that some more. I really haven't thought about that. What would happen if I'm gone?
Okay, we'll just put a question mark.
Okay.
You know, a lot of people will say, well, my kids would take care of them.
Yeah.
But it's just more about formalizing that and just making sure that a certain amount of money is set aside for mom. And then it can revert back to your kids.
Okay.
If that would happen. Anybody else in your world that would rely on you financially? Your wife's parents okay?
Yeah, my wife's parents are squared away, so no.
Okay.
That's good.
All right. So this section is assets, what you own. Let's start with your house here in Austin. What's that worth and what do you owe?
It's paid off. It's worth 1.2 million.
Okay. What's your estimate of the value of the business?
Our valuations is between 30 and 50 million, and I'm 25% on it.
Those are the numbers that are coming back as you go through this sales process.
Yeah.
How's the business held now? Is it in your family trust?
That's an LLC.
Held in the LLC.
And then,
How about investment accounts? The business has a 401k and a profit sharing plan. Do you know how much you have in there?
yeah, you know, I think I've got about 1.5 million in my 401k. It's a, I don't know, it's like a combination.
Profit sharing 401k, defined benefit.
Yeah. And then we've got some non-qualified, something, I don't know if it's insurance or something like that.
Do you own any life insurance?
Yeah, I do. And
You know how much?
well, yeah, I mean, I think we've got some kind of insurance trust. And with my work, we've got some kind of insurance. I think the company owns it or something like that. I'd like to really look at that.
Any idea how much the face value is? That is, if you passed away, how much would your family?
Yeah, for me, it's 3 million.
Is that in the trust?
Yeah, and my wife's got a $1 million policy.
Also in a trust?
Yeah.
A life insurance trust. And do you happen to know how much cash value is in the policies?
I don't know. I can't remember. It's like a whole life or something like that.
How about investments held not in retirement plans? Brokerage accounts, bank accounts?
Yeah, so I've fooled around with some stuff over at E-Trade. I think I've got about, $800,000 over there.
Is that invested in stocks, bonds?
Yeah, I really like picking stocks.
Okay.
And then I've got a guy at Wells Fargo, the private client group. They've got $4 million.
And that's in a managed account, kind of a balanced.
Yeah, they're really good over there. I mean, they've got all these great managers over there, and they've got me really diversified.
Okay.
So,
Any other assets? You got any Monets in the attic?
yeah, I've got some artwork hanging around.
Is it valuable?
I think so. Yeah, we picked it up when we were over in Eastern Europe years ago when we met. And,
Matisse?
I'd say artwork's probably worth 1.5 million.
That's a great question to ask because you get them thinking about, sometimes they will leave out non-financial assets that can be worth a lot of money. Like I've come across people who own $1 million cars and didn't mention it until I said, collectibles. And they'll tell you, oh yeah, I've got a I've got a 2004 Chevy pickup, and I'm like, no. I mean, stuff that's worth money. But it's a great question to ask, just to get them thinking about that.